They talked through their mistakes. That's pretty interesting. The good guys made mistakes. I got news for you. Everybody makes mistakes. The good guys were open enough to go back after the mistake and talk through it with the crew to see if there wasn't some way we could avoid this in the future. Made it just a great captain I was flying with made a terrible approach one time. It was a visual approach in a Florida airport. It was just like you learned how to fly. It came downwind, turned base leg, and when he turned base, I'm thinking, gee, I don't think I ought to turn base quite then. But I'm not flying, I'm just taking notes. Goes, turn on final, goes right through final, comes back through final. Now he's high, he's finally getting lined up, he puts the nose over. Every alarm in the 727 goes off. I mean, you know, it's just the ground proximity warning system's off, buzzers, bells. You could hear it halfway in the back of the airplane, I'm sure. Finally, he gets the thing back, and I'm thinking, this is not so good, you know. Gets the nose back, goes long, he's got to correct now. He's got this bad approach, he's got to make a good landing. Goes long down the runway, finally gets it down, pulls off on the taxiway. It's real quiet in this airplane. Nobody's saying anything. Pulls in, goes through the shutdown checklist, turns to the crew before anybody can unstrap and said, all right, before we go anywhere, I want to debrief that absolutely terrible approach because that shouldn't have happened and we don't ever want that to happen again. And he talked through about who could have made mistakes. And he said, you know, if anybody had said, I think we ought to go around, he said, I'd have gone around. And that's what we want to get. Now, was that good on this crew? No, it wasn't good on this crew, but my guess is this crew in the future would be a much better crew. He even turned to me, he says, what did you see wrong? I said, well, I said, one thing I noticed is I didn't hear the flight engineer making his required calls. You know, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 250, 100, I didn't hear those. Maybe I just missed them. And the engineer said, no, you're right, I didn't make them, but to tell you the truth, I'd never quite seen an approach like that. I said, don't feel like the Lone Ranger. First one I'd seen like that, too.